Chapter 4, Reciprocity. So negotiation is not about winning and losing. Reciprocity helps to extract value. So we think about negotiation not about winning and losing. Many people think that negotiations are about winning, and with the implications, negotiator who is not winning is actually losing. And that can be a little misleading because it's rarely, when we look at it, it's rarely a true winner or a loser in negotiation. As winning and losing are subjective definitions that are up to interpretation. So it's not really like that. It's just not. And when you think in terms of negotiation, if you think in terms of both sides are giving some and both sides are getting some, but you can't look at it as a winning and losing. Reciprocity helps to extract more value. Reciprocity is the idea that we can extract more value by understanding the interests of somebody and making those trades and exchanges that leverages their interest. So we use reciprocity allows us to utilize resources, I think, in a non-threatening way. And it helps to open up the door to understanding and continue doing some other type of negotiations at another time. So reciprocity defined. Willingness to return equal goods, feeling of obligation, uncertainty based on fundamental calculation. So the definition of reciprocity. This is the definition. It's the willingness to return equal goods, one of fundamental motivations you can use to advance is reciprocity, or another's willingness to return equal goods or services to you when goods or services have been given to them. So it's really about reaching understanding. It's about giving and taking. I'll do some things for you, kind of some things for you that you may want, and you'll do some things for me. You have the uncertainty when you look at it because, first time you do this, it's going to be unfamiliar to you, so you may have a feeling of a certain way about it. But that's going to be based upon your mental model, what type of person you are, your background and training, to ultimately determine how you feel about it. And it's based on a calculation of equity. It's kind of like, again, it's not looking to rob somebody. It's not really to win or lose. It's really about going in and try to find something that's more common and fair. So it's a process of giving and taking, because you have interest and they have interest. What is reciprocated? So when we think in terms of that, this is a behavior that has been reciprocated tactics, I guess is the best way to put it. The behaviors negotiators engage in suggest sometimes that reciprocity collaborative tactics is a better negotiation way of doing agreements when they are reached. Individual reciprocate concessions and stuff. So that means, when you go in there, you actually, traditionally is given some value to the other side in negotiation. It definitely stop thinking in terms of hardball, but thinking in terms of, trying to get a deal done. One side gives a discount on a product or service or something that they're selling, and the other side reciprocates by agreeing, to buy more units or something. But, it's helping you to come to an understanding. And the subconscious form of reciprocity is, you gotta be careful because people, a lot of times people don't want to feel like they're stupid or whatever. But the feeling, don't let that feeling get to the point where, it's so strong that you engage in reciprocity at a subconscious level by mimicking someone else. This subconscious form of reciprocity, it'll demonstrate just how deep-seated in the need for the form of social settings can be. So you'll actually start doing that and not realize it. But once you go there, it's going to be counterproductive to your cause. And you'll probably find yourself giving more than you're actually getting. Reciprocity over time. So when we think about the counter offer, bottom line is when somebody make an offer, then you come up with a counter offer. Drives behavior in certain situations and stuff. So when we think about drives and behavior in certain situations, reciprocity can drive human behavior it's in uncertain rather than certain situations. And so you'll see it more often in uncertain situations than certain, because people are actually thinking in terms of when it's certain, they know what to do. Uncertain, now they got to think about it. So now they may be more inclined to reciprocate. creates possibility of trade-offs. So when you're doing this, now you're getting to that point where it's the creativity is there, but you're also thinking in terms of possibilities that might arise as a result of the conversations that you're having about some things maybe that you didn't plan on talking about, but you are now talking about them. So reciprocity over time. So if you look at it, perceived distribution, you have an obligation to the other side, feeling towards the other side, relationship with Y in the future. So you see even trade is X equals Y. And you see a negative trade is X is less than Y. High positive trade is X is greater than Y. So if you look at the neutral, you see habit, willingness to work with Y again. You look at the high negative, negative X feels as if they lost. X seeks retribution in future negotiations. High positive, X feels indebted to Y, and X perceives relationship with Y like a partnership or a team. Increased trust, liking, and engagement with Y. So ultimately where you want to be is the high positive, because unlike what we've been led to believe, realistically, it's about, let me put it this way, if people don't trust you, don't like you, they won't negotiate in good faith and may not even negotiate with you at all. So the paradox of reciprocity. So when we look at the paradox of reciprocity, in negotiation, and it is a paradox in negotiations. Negotiations don't share information. There is a paradox in negotiation which involves around reciprocity. While sharing information leads to more information from others via reciprocity and the opportunity to create value, negotiations don't share information because they feel they will lose value. So there's your paradox. So negotiations, they don't share information, they're uncertain, and they're weary of others. So you may not even be good, but there's a lack of trust there. Yeah, and in order to overcome this, a leap of faith to overcome this, you got to say, you know what? I believe that she is going to negotiate in good faith. And the trust and the willingness to be vulnerable. You got to say, you know what? I'm going to be a little vulnerable in order to actually, to show the other side that I'm negotiating good faith. Interest in negotiations. So invoking reciprocity. So if you want to invoke reciprocity or influence somebody to do something for you, you generally got to give them something or do something for them. It's usually going to be tied to their interest. It's the things that's really of interest to them, not the things that's most interesting. The things that's most interesting to them, not the least. Address the interests of the other party. But that's one of the first things you must do. If you've got interest, so does the other party. Focusing on the positions, people take and stuff. You focus on the positions, the interests, are distinct. The positions you're going to find, focus on those positions rather than their interests. And it's a great way to arrive at a suboptimal solution or impasse. Cautions when using reciprocity. So when you're using it, you have different views on different views on the importance of reciprocity, impacted by mental modes based on perceiving an equitable trade. So you have different views of importance of reciprocity, and see, this could be based on many type of things, to include individual type stuff, like age of the people who are doing it, race, gender, culture, education level, a lot of different things. And the mental modes, this is going to be basically, kind of the things that how people widen, how their belief system works, and what they view as positive and what they view as negative. And sometimes that can be tied to someone's religion or culture. Again, any type of things based on perceiving equitable trade. So when you think on looking at the cautions when using reciprocity, based on the equitable trades. Reciprocity is based on perceiving an equitable, fair trade. And fairness may in many ways impact in different people in different ways. Uncovering your own interests. Before you go to a negotiation, determine what your interests are and what's most important to you to the least. But so that when you go into negotiation, so you don't go in there and make a fool of yourself and actually play hardball negotiating over some of the things that you care about the least. Take into account your interests. Allow allows to know what to offer. Based upon that, it'll set you up to know what to offer and what to negotiate with, and because you understand where your own personal interests are. Perspective taking, negotiates cognitive capacity. So what you find, everybody's got a cognitive capacity. So you have a cognitive capacity to consider with from another person's viewpoint. Try to take a look at that, and that'll allow you to, like, look from their perspective a little. Allows finding valuable resources. When you think in terms of, if you do that, if you look for their perspective, you may find some valuable resources and things that may have value to them. It helps avoid being overly self-interested, meaning I'm only considering my interest in this negotiation and not yours. And some of the things that can happen doing this is changes in anxiety and emotion. Negotiations can actually trigger the anxiety and emotion. And when these things kick in, what can happen is you can get off your game because you got rattled or you got nervous and anxiety went up, emotions get high, and bottom line is even tempers could even flare as a result of this. Asking interest-based questions. When you're talking to someone, ask interest-based questions. Find out what you will have some assumption of what their interests are, but assume, but also ask. It helps to uncover these things, and it uncovers potentially important information that you may need during the negotiation process. When you know what their interests are and learn a little more, maybe why is their interest. And it also will help you avoid missteps in questions and stuff. Maybe asking questions that are either irrelevant or asking questions that actually that don't make sense, or that asking questions that could alienate the other party because it's not appropriate for what you're talking about because you misunderstood something. Compromise based on splitting the difference. So when you talk about splitting the difference on a particular issue in order to reach a resolution, compromise works because it's fundamental notion of reciprocity and fairness, perceived as a fair trade-off, does not create a value. So when you look at it, does not create a value. That's the danger in it, because realistically, both sides kind of walk away feeling like less than satisfied. So that's something that you might do on some things. Realistically, not most things. Adding potential issues to the negotiation list. This actually stimulates dialogue. It can create opportunity when you and I know issues you think of in terms of a negative, but don't think of it in terms of negative. Think of it in terms of positive, because it actually is added potential issues and things that can be negotiated on. And it facilitates the log rolling. When issues are added, it gives both sides the opportunity to state whether the issue is important enough for them or not, and which facilitates log rolling. You remember log rolling just kind of offers some things up to the other side. And it helps find common ground. Where do we have some common ground? One of the things, like I said, dispel the myth that the negotiations are adversarial, because they shouldn't be. Good, healthy negotiations shouldn't be. But you do want to find some common ground periodically. And you look at log rolling, finding issues to trade unequally valued parties. So if you've got some things that you can trade, for instance, that may not be of value to you or whatever else, and you don't mind giving it up to the other party. Requires multiple issues with different value. And so when you're talking about trying to negotiate on things of let's say low value to you or not significant value to you, then you must know what the value of all the issues are in order to do that. And and when you do that, that's going to be a great example of a job, like a job negotiation. It's like someone's getting hired and they want a higher 401k contribution. Well, the company says that they want to offer them more vacation time and stuff. Okay, so that right there is an opportunity to negotiate and stuff. And so you have a difference. Somebody's willing to offer the value. You see the difference in the value, what I value versus what the company values. But that's an opportunity for negotiation. That's an issue, and that's an opportunity for negotiation. Packaging is you make an offer with multiple issues. So when you find the packaging, This is when it's kind of like a deal. It's like a big deal with a bunch of little deals in it. And it does not involve log rolling, because realistically, we're talking about things that are value that you value, and not necessarily just some things that you want to throw in just for the heck of it, to give away. Gives chance to discover further issues. And it also, remember, when we're talking about discover further issues and stuff, that's more opportunity to negotiate, and that's viewed as a good thing. Contingent contracts. So making a bet on a future event. So when we look at it in negotiations, making a bet on a future event in order to resolve a potential difficult issue facing the negotiation. One side is going to be contingent on the other side going to give this, and that will be contingent. And I'll do something down the road for you. If we do this right here. Great way to invoke reciprocity. I showed you some reciprocity and stuff, and now you have an opportunity to do that with me. It requires a degree of continued interaction. So this is particularly great for someone who's negotiating with someone, and they have to negotiate periodically, not a one-time deal. And it leads to more creative agreements. So what happens when you see this right here? This is where there is some reciprocity and there's good faith, and it leads to more creative agreements, potentially in other deals down the road. Provides optimum solution. So when you look at the solution that it provides and stuff, this is where usually people can walk away feeling pretty satisfied, because it's an optimal solution. Again, I notice I didn't say a win and a loss. Makes future negotiations easier, and that's what I was stating earlier. So, time taken to discover and trade resources. It's going to take some time to discover and trade resources, and realistically, that's time well spent, because now you're making a more informed decision, and you probably will be a better negotiation. Unfamiliar on your first tip. If someone is not familiar with dealing with reciprocity, and they think they're going into a situation and they think that, it might be playing hardball, whatever else, to go into the reciprocity mode and actually start to operate that way will feel unfamiliar to someone initially on that first attempt, until they get the hang of it. Ethical considerations. Focus on understanding the other side. You have to focus on the other side, because if you don't, you may be inclined to make some decisions that might not necessarily be ethical, or some things that might not sit well with the individuals. And when you think in terms of the door in your face technique, that's a tactic that shows how reciprocity could potentially be unethical. It's like it's someone significantly asking for something that's significantly greater than what you actually want, and then people refuse and asking for what they really want. For instance, I'm saying, I'll give you this if you can give me some trade secrets about that. And then when you look at it, you also have the bogey tactic. And this tactic, the bogey, is a descriptive tactic by which a negotiator pretends to value an issue only to give a concession on that issue to get a concession on an issue that is truly valued. So this is kind of like a fake. You pretend to give some value to something only because you want value on something else. So it's almost like playing poker, in that particular sense. That concludes chapter 4.